Hello everyone! So firstly, apologies, this video is a little bit late. I did try and film it a while ago, but my battery ran out and I just ran out of time, but I am bringing it to you better late than never, I suppose. So what I'm going to do today is run through the books that I read in the month of January and the books that I plan to read in the month of February. The first book that I picked up and finished in January was Beloved by Toni Morrison. I've been told to read this book since I was in about 8th grade and I finally picked it up. Thankfully, a friend bought this for me for my 21st last year, so that's why I had a copy. This follows a fictional account that Toni Morrison made up about a real-life woman who escaped from her slave owner in the American South and before being captured attempted to kill her children. So that's what this is about. It's a pretty haunting story and told in absolutely beautiful prose. If you've ever read a Toni Morrison, you'll know she's a fantastic writer. I did really enjoy this story, not as much as I've enjoyed some of Toni Morrison's other works, but it's one of her most well-known, so I did enjoy that. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up another classic, but for completely different reasons. This is Catch-22 by Joseph Heller. This I've also been told to read by many friends for many years, and I finally picked it up this January. This follows a bunch of men during World War II, pilots, and they are stuck in the situation in which if you continue to fly in the air raids that they do, you're considered crazy. But if you decide that you don't want to fly anymore, that means that you must be completely sane and they're not able to take you away from the army, because you can only stop flying if you are declared insane or if you are killed or maimed. This is probably the blackest comedy I've ever read or any of you will ever come across. It's incredibly dark. I did enjoy that to a degree. I must say I wasn't a huge fan of the way that the women are written in this story. I recognize that it comes from a certain time period. It's also set in war and the women just don't figure all that importantly into the story, but it really put a damper on it for me and I didn't enjoy it for that reason. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up a collection of poetry. This is Threefer by Ken Bolton. He is an Australian poet and I thought this was an alright collection, but I wasn't completely in love with it. For one thing, he switches between perspectives of his 25 and 60-year-old self pretty regularly without a whole lot of warning. So I found the descriptions that he gave, especially of women in his poems, pretty disturbing because I never quite knew what age he was speaking from. So I gave this one 2 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up Watson's Dictionary of Weasel Words, Contemporary Cliches, Cant, and Management Jargon by Don Watson. I've read Don Watson's linguistics books in the past. He is a pretty well-known linguist in Australia and general political commentator. This is literally just a dictionary of words that he doesn't like or ones that he's picked out and decided to make fun of. I read a few pages of it before I realized that it was going to be exactly what I expected it to be, and then I put it down and decided not to pick it up again. I'm not a huge fan of Don Watson. I don't think he's very clever and I don't really agree with a lot of what he says about linguistics. So this one I gave 1 out of 5 stars. Next, another collection of poetry. This is Home by Dark by Pam Brown. She is also an Australian poet. I did really enjoy this collection actually. I think she's got a great way with words and I am interested in looking into more of Pam Brown's work in the future. I think it was really good. I don't know what else to say about it. It was a collection of poetry. If you're into it, I recommend this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. This is a book that I picked up pretty randomly on a whim at a bookstore in Newtown. This is Purple Prose by Liz Biersky and Rachel Robertson. They curated this collection of essays / short story memoir type things. It's basically they went around and found a ton of women writers that they really like and think are really talented and decided to ask them to write a essay or memoir chapter about what the color purple means to them. It's in reference to the fact that purple prose is often used to describe really foul language, but purple is also associated with a lot of things like feminism and gender identity and things like that. It was quite an interesting read. I think purple stretched across a huge range of different ideas and cultures and feelings, and I found that really interesting. I also don't really know any of the women writers writing for this collection. I've never heard of most of them, so I found it really interesting just getting a little insight into someone else's life and how they connect to each other through something as simple as a consideration of color. I gave this collection 4 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up another one that has been very, very requested for me to read by my friends, specifically one friend. This is My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. This has been getting a lot of talk recently in Australia. I'm not sure why it's suddenly come into fashion, but I've seen it a lot on Twitter, online, and on shows like the Book Club. This basically follows these 2 women who are friends in Naples? I don't know anything about Italy. They're friends growing up in the same neighborhood, but they're also rivals, and they fight a lot, and they have a lot of competitions amongst each other, and they can be pretty nasty. This just talks about how they grew up together as children and then into their adolescence, all the way up until one of the women's marriage. What I found particularly interesting about this story is that there's an underlying violent tension throughout the whole narration, not only between the 2 girls, but also amongst their entire neighborhood, in which much of the justice given out is vigilante and is quite violent. So I found it really interesting reading about these 2 women who grew up in this very violent relationship and neighborhood, and I'm a bit interested to see where it goes. This, as far as I know, is a 4-part series, and while I don't know if I'll completely finish the series, I am a little bit interested to see what the second one has to offer. I gave My Brilliant Friend 4 out of 5 stars. The last book I picked up in January is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This one was given to me by another friend of mine who says it is his favorite novel. As you can see, I picked up a lot of recommendations this month. This is Donna Tartt's debut novel. A lot of people will know her best as the writer of The Goldfinch, which was published in 2014, 2013 maybe. This follows a group of college students in the US, in Vermont, who go to a really prestigious school. It's 6 of them, and they take a really exclusive class together in which they're taught by one teacher and one teacher alone. All of their classes are taught by the same one teacher, so they get really isolated and become quite a tight-knit group. Basically what happens is they commit a serious crime, and the rest of the novel is about how they deal with that and what happens to them in the future. This is a pretty gripping story, I'm going to be honest. I found it really easy to read and really interesting to keep reading. It is about 800 pages long, but it definitely doesn't feel that long. It moves really quickly. I think it's pretty obvious that this is her debut novel if you've read any of her other work, just because her storytelling is kind of repetitive. There's a lot of secret keeping and then a reveal, and then secret keeping and then a reveal, and then secret keeping and then a reveal. It follows that pattern pretty steadily throughout the entire novel. I found all of the characters really interesting, really well-rounded, and fun to read from, and I would recommend this. I honestly really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Now onto my February to be read. For the next month, I am being pretty flexible with what I want to read because it's my last month in my summer vacation, and I kind of just want to read the stuff that I completely forgot to read earlier. So I'll start with the book that I'm currently reading. I picked this up yesterday. This is I Came, I Saw by Norman Lewis. Norman Lewis is a travel writer. I've never read anything that he's ever written as a travel writer, but this is his autobiography. I've owned it for about 5 or 6 years, and I thought now would be the time to finally read it. I'm only 2 or 3 chapters in, so I can't tell you how I'm enjoying it so far, but I mean, travel writers are pretty fascinating, right? They travel all over the place and then write about it, so we'll see how that one goes. Next, I have The Little Red Riding Book by Mark Tredennick. So this is just kind of like a writer's companion. It teaches you how to write, and I'm really interested in that kind of thing, so I've wanted to read this for a really long time and will probably pick it up this month. Another book I've wanted to read for a really long time. This is 7 Types of Ambiguity by Elliot Perlman. This was shortlisted for the Miles Franklin Literary Award in 2004, and for some reason I've just always had this on my to be read list, and then when I finally purchased it, it was a bit daunting. The font is really, really tiny, and it's something like 800 pages. No, 607. I was a bit over dramatic there. 607 pages, so it's a bit of a beast, but I'm hoping it reads as easily as The Secret History did. I don't even know what this is about, but I'd like to read it in this next month. Next, I have The Magicians by Lev Grossman. This was talked about quite a lot here on YouTube for a few months back in maybe 2013 or 2014. A lot of people say that this is an adult Harry Potter, but I've also heard a lot of people say that's not a very accurate description. Either way, I think the cover is absolutely beautiful, and one of my favorite YouTubers here does really enjoy this novel, so I thought I would pick it up as soon as I can. Another one, this one is also a bit of a tomb, so for some reason I'm going to try and force myself to read a lot of really thick books this month. This is Dune by Frank Herbert. This is a sci-fi classic, or just a regular classic if you don't believe in genre. I've wanted to read this for a long time because my friends have always recommended it to me, and I really like reading popular genre fiction just because it's something a bit different for what I usually read. I'm not entirely sure what this is about. I think it's some intergalactic war type novel, but it's the first in a very long-ranging series, and I'm borrowing it from a friend, so I should read it before she comes back from Spain. In complete contrast to all the tombs that I'll be picking up this month, I also want to read Saga Volume 2 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I read Saga Volume 1 back in November and I absolutely loved it. Got this for Christmas and would really like to pick it up this month. So there you go. Those are all the books that I read in the month of January, what I thought of them, and the books I'm planning on reading in February. I don't know if I'm going to stick to this TBR, to be honest, because I am trying to be really flexible this month, as I said, but those are the books I'm looking at right now, so we'll see how I go. If you do to be read videos, or if you have wrap-ups or anything like that, if you love reading, please let me know. I will leave my Goodreads link down below if you use that site as well. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.